Okay, so I'm going to solve the first quiz that I took on March 16, 2022, okay, to year 11. You have 40 minutes to solve it, but it says here that the time will not be enough to do everything. So the idea of this was to have enough exercises so that you can choose which ones you want to do, okay, because the time was very small. So I have here open the mark scheme and here the quiz. So let's try and do this briefly, okay, because we have already the mark scheme uploaded. So Debbie used the thermometer to record the maximum daily temperature over 10 consecutive days, okay, and she has these numbers, 14, 15, and so on. So we have to find the mode, the mean, and the standard deviation. So the mode, recalling that it is the number that appears the most amount of times, we have to check here, and the number that appears the most amount of times is 14, because it appears 3 times, okay? So it's, let me draw, so it's here, here, and here. Okay, so we have 3 14s, and it's the mode. But also, since we have the GDC to solve this exam, we can directly go to stat, okay? And if we upload these numbers, the whole number, so 14, 15, well, sorry, 14, 11, 10, 9, 4, and so on. Okay, with this, we now can calc for one variable, right? Because we have only one variable, the temperature, it's the only variable. So 1 bar, and we get that the mean is 13.1, and this is the next point. So this is the mean. And we also have, well, n, that is 10, because we have 10 numbers, right? We also have the mode, right, that it's 14, and the standard deviation that is given here. Okay, you must remember that the standard deviation is shown in the calculator like this. It's kind of a weird O, that this is the Greek letter sigma. So we have this is the standard deviation, okay? This with the n-1 instead of the n is another thing that we will never use. Okay, so the number that we are interested in will always be this one. So this is the answer for these things, right? 2.21, because we must round to 3 significant figures, and the mode is 14. Okay, great. So that's exercise number 1. I will clear this. And if we check the mark scheme, we have 14, 13.1, and 2.21. Great. So now, second exercise. At the end of a school day, the headmaster conducted a survey asking students in how many classes they had used the internet, okay? And the data is shown in the following table. So we have the number of students here in the second row, and in the first row, the number of classes in which the students used the internet, okay? So we have 20 students that didn't use internet in any class, 24 that used it in one class, 30 that used it in 2, and so on. Okay, so state whether the data is discrete or continuous. Since we are talking about a number of students, and this cannot be any value, like for example, this cannot be a decimal value, right? Like a rational number with decimal values. So this must be an integer value, and also it must be positive. So this is why this is discrete, okay? Because the number of students will be counted, right? If we are talking about something that we measure, then that is continuous. But since we are talking about something that we are going to count, like 1 student, 2, and so on until maybe 20, 24, 30, then this is discrete. Okay, now it says the mean number of classes in which a student used the internet is 2. Find the value of k. K is here. K is the number of students that used internet in 3 classes, right? And we don't have it. Check that this is, the value of this exercise is 4 marks. So this is like a difficult exercise. Okay, so the mean, how should we calculate the mean number of classes? Remember, the mean number of classes. Since we have, what we must do is add up all the classes in total and then divide it by the number of students, right? Like every time we calculate the mean. So we must do 20 times 4 plus 24 plus 1, times 1. Why? Because for these 24 students, they add up to 1 class each. And then these 30 students add up to 2 classes each, and so on, right? So we write this. Now we have so k times 3, then we have 10 times 4, then 3 times 5, and 1 times 6. This is the amount of class in total that every student used internet in. So we must divide this by the amount of students, and the amount of students is the addition of this row. So 20 plus 24 plus 30 plus k plus 10 plus 3 plus 1. Okay, this is how we should calculate the mean number of classes. And since we know that the mean number of classes is 2, then this will be equal to 2. Okay, so we must continue. I mean, what we now have to do is first, well, multiply the numbers and then add them up. So we will have, for example, we will have 24 times 1 plus 30 times 2 plus 3k, that I won't write it yet, 10 times 4 plus 3 times 5 plus 6 times 1. This is 145. So we have that 2 must be equal to 145 plus 3k, and then this divided by, and now we must do 20 plus 24 plus 30 plus 10 plus 3 plus 1, which is 88. And so we must divide this by 88 plus k. Okay, so this is the total amount of students that we still don't know because we need the value of k, and this is the amount of classes in total. So now, if we multiply 2 with this number, we get 2 times 88 plus k is equal to 145 plus 3k, right? So here we do the distributive property, we used it, and we get that 176, which is 2 times 88, plus 2 times k is equal to 145 plus 3k. So now if we join the k's and the numbers, we get that k is equal to 176 minus 145, which is 31. If we go and check the mark scheme, we have the 31, right? And we have looked at, we have the same formula here, but instead of writing, for example, 30 times 2, they already wrote 60, okay? And we have here 88 plus k. So that's the answer. Then it was not possible to ask every person in the school, so the headmaster arranged the student names in alphabetical order and then asked every 10th person on the list. When we select our sample in a way that is that we get one every an amount of people, for example, 1 every 10 people in this case, then this is systematic sampling. Okay, this is called the systematic sampling, and that's the technique used here. Okay, and we have it in the mark scheme. That's okay. Okay. So 3a, a food scientist measures the weight of 760 potatoes taken from a single field, and the distribution of the weights is shown by the cumulative frequency curve below. Okay, so we have the cumulative frequency graph that we already studied in class. Okay, so we have the weight of the potatoes and the cumulative frequency. So find the number of potatoes in the sample with a weight of more than 200 grams. To do this, we must find the amount of people that the amount of potatoes whose weight is less than 200, and to do that we do like this. We stop at the graph and we get the number 4 and 420. Okay, first of all, be careful with the sum, right? So every one of these in the y-axis is 20, right? Because between 0 and 100 we have 5, and between this, so for this we have every 20, and for this, since from 0 to 50 we have 5, this is 10 by 10. Okay, so in this case the 420 is the amount of potatoes whose weight is less than 200. So if we want the amount that, whose weight is more than 200, then the answer is 760, which is the total, minus 420, which is equal to 340. Okay, I will clear this. Then the lower and upper quartile, we must find 1/4, like 1/4 of this and 3/4 of this, right? So for the lower quartile, 760 over 4 is 190. Okay, so we must find the amount of weight that leaves me 190 potatoes with a lower weight, right? So I go here, 190, it will be between the 180 and the 190 and the 200. So let's say over here, more or less, and we get something around 140. Okay, if you go and check the mark scheme, you will see that any value between 135 and 140 is correct. Okay, great. So that's that. Then for the upper quartile, we do something very similar, but instead of using this value of 190, we will use 3 times 760 over 4. So 3 times 190, that it is 570. Okay, so now we need to find the value of grams that leave us 570 potatoes weighing less. So the 570 will be around here between 560, right, and 580. Well, sorry about the numbers. And here we will stop at the graph and then go down. Okay, so this would be something between maybe 240 and 250, right? Something like that. Actually, it should be less than 250, right? Because check that the 250, I mean the 180, sorry, I will clean here and check that the so check that the 250 is here. So this is a value greater than 580, right? And since we want 570, then the value must be lower than 250. So the maximum shows that between 244 and 247 should be the answer, okay? So that's that. And then, well, then we know that the weight of the smallest potato is 20 grams and the largest is 400 grams. So the box and whiskers plot would be something like the lower quartile, I forgot, lower quartile, well, let's say I got mistaken. And for example, the median, I wrote it was, I don't know, 210. And then this, I wrote it was 170. And this, I wrote it was 300, okay? Then, I mean, or even if you, let's say that you don't even know how to find these values, okay? Then what you can do is just write anything, any value here, like write anything here, okay? And now use these values so as to do the box and whisker plot and get these 2 marks, okay? Because these 2 marks won't penalize for wrong values here. Okay, so in this case, we will do the 210, I mean, over here, right? Then 150, let's say it's over here. Then the 300. And then we go until the minimum value, which is around 20. And then until the maximum, which is 400. Okay, we should write the numbers here. 170, 210, 300, and 20. Remember that this is not the correct answer, okay? I'm just showing you what to do if in an exam you don't know how to calculate this, okay? So that you don't lose also these 2 marks, okay? If you go to the maximum, you will see the correct box and whiskers. Okay, I will stop the video here so that it isn't so long. And I will continue in another one, okay?